Hey everybody, and welcome back to another Teach Me to Code screencast. This is Charles Max Wood. I want to apologize first for not putting these out as regularly as I have been, and the reason is because I've been taking care of some family issues, some health issues in my family, and just some other things. So I want to apologize up front for that. But I also want to just tell you that we're going to be building a countdown timer in JavaScript. Now I'm going to be using the jQuery library, and basically that's just to update an input field, a text field. Other than that, we're just going to be using basic JavaScript for this. Now this is part of another project that I'm working on, and I'm hoping to be able to announce something soon as far as what that is. But in the meantime, this is just an interesting component of that. So anyway, some of the funkiness with JavaScript, or funkiness to my mind, is that basically when you create a class in JavaScript, you'll find that you're doing it by declaring a function. And so in this case, I've declared a function countdown, and we're going to set up a start time for say 30 minutes. And basically that's what we're going to count down from. And then the other thing we need is an ID of an element on the page that we're going to be updating. And I'm just going to use a jQuery selector. So what that means is I'm just going to put a pound, and then I'm going to put the ID, which will be timer. And basically what that'll do is that is how we're going to find the element that we're updating. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to define our first thing. And the first one that I want to do is a reset. So basically we're going to call reset, and that'll set it back to 30 minutes. And then we're going to use set interval. And what set interval does is it takes a string, and it basically calls an eval on that string on the interval that you set. And the interval is in milliseconds, so 1000 is 1 second. So every second it's going to call tick on whatever this.name comes out to be. And I'm sure that there's a slicker workaround for that, but that's the way that I chose to do it, and it seemed to work pretty well. So here what we're going to do is we're going to first start by parsing out the start time. So we're going to split it on the colon, and basically what this does is it gives us an array, and the array has two elements in it. It has the minutes and the seconds. And so if we use JavaScript's parseInt function, then we can actually get the first element of the array, and then what it'll do is it'll take that string and it'll convert it to an integer for us. And I forgot some semicolons. Don't forget your semicolons. I'm still kind of in Ruby mode. Anyway, so then we're going to do the same thing for seconds. And then what we're going to do is we're going to update the target. And the way I like to do these kinds of things is I like to go ahead and kind of put in the function name or method name that I wish I had. So anyway, so we have update target. So we have two functions that we haven't defined yet. We have tick and we have update target. So let's go ahead and find the tick. So basically the tick function is set up so that when we, while we're counting down, it should be decrementing seconds and decrementing minutes. So basically what we want to do here is we want to make sure that seconds is let's see. We want to make sure that seconds is greater than 0 and that minutes is greater than 0. And then that way when it reaches 0, it should just stop. So then what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and decrement our seconds. Now, for readability's sake, I like doing this dot seconds equals this dot seconds minus 1. You can do this dot seconds minus minus. It has the same effect. But in this case, that's what I'm going to do. And then we're going to say if the seconds is 0, then what we want to do is we actually want to decrement the minute and reset the second to 59 seconds. So let's go ahead and do that. And there's another thing that I forgot or I missed. We actually want it to be either or, and the reason is because on the this dot seconds, the issue is if we get to 0 seconds, then we're going to stop decrementing, and that's a problem because the minutes may not be 0. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that both of them are greater than 0, and then what we do is, we go ahead and we update the target. So that leaves us with one more thing to implement, and that is update target. Now, one other thing I realized that I've done here is I've actually defined the functions incorrectly. You can either do this by putting a function out in front and then doing it this way, or you can do the equals function. And I kind of like the equals function a little bit better, so that's what I'm going to do here. So anyway. All right, so now that we have our functions defined properly, we'll go ahead and update the target. So what we want to do here is we first want to grab the seconds. And the reason that we're assigning it out separately, or basically cloning the value, is because we need to make sure that the values that are less than 10 get a leading 0. So what we're doing here is we're just saying if seconds is less than 10, then put the leading 0 on. And then what we'll do is we'll go ahead and we'll find the target element. And remember, we made it a selector, so we can just go and do target ID. And then we just set the value. And this is pretty much the only line in here that's dependent on anything else, and that is jQuery call. All right, so let's go ahead and create an HTML file that we can use to kind of demonstrate our countdown timer. So we'll just go ahead and kind of get the boilerplate stuff going. And we'll get our script include tags here. Now that should be a type, I think. So let's go change that real quick. And then what we need here is we actually need jQuery. So let's go into the browser. We'll go to jquery.com. And we'll download the minified version. That's the one with min.js at the end. We'll just save it directly into the project. it's already there. So let's go ahead and go back into the project and include it here. And then we need to include our countdown library. We also need to close our script tag. All right, so then we get the head, close the head, open the body. And then what we're going to do here is we'll just put in the text field. And the only thing that really matters here, other than that it's a text field, is that we that we set the ID properly. So we set the ID to timer because that's what we're expecting in our little library there. And that's it. We should be good to go. Now let's see if this will open it up in Chrome for us. It says open in Firefox, but I've already got Chrome open, so we'll just go ahead and go that way. So we'll open the file in our project here. And we have a text field, but it's not setting the value. So let's go ahead. I think I know what the problem is. I think we need to initialize our timer. So what we'll do is we'll jump down here and we'll put a script tag after the input. That way it can find it when it initializes. And this is where we initialize our countdown object. So we'll just set timer equals new countdown. Don't forget the parens. And then timer.init. And then we try this again and still no go. We left a semicolon off of there, but I don't think that's gonna do it. Oh, one other thing is right here we have the this.name and we didn't set the name. Now I'm just gonna be lazy and set it. And it's just timer because that's what we called the object out in the global scope. So anyway, let's go ahead and try this again. It's still not working. Now, one thing that I like about Chrome is that it has the built-in inspect element, which is kind of like a Firebug if you're used to Firefox. So we'll go over to script and then we're going to pull up the console. And you can see right there that we actually have an error, time.array. And, you know, that's usually how I abbreviate an array. But I think in this case, I actually just called it time. So we'll go ahead and, yeah, we'll just take that array off of there and give it a save, refresh here. And then, oh, it's counting down, you know, -4, -5, -6. So we need to go back in and look at our tick. Now, one thing that I think we might be able to do is actually set it up so that seconds is like +1. And then if we come back out here to this and refresh it, that's not right because it went from 30:01 to 29:59. So that's not right. So let's take that out. And let's see. Yeah, let's change that to tick and see what that does. No, it's still doing the same thing. All right, so we'll change that back. what we'll do is we'll actually move this up. That's the problem, is that it's decrementing, and then it's checking if it's 0, and then it's actually kind of decrementing it again. So we'll move it up here, and then what we need to do is we need to make sure that if we reset the seconds, that it doesn't decrement it again. So we'll just put an else on this, and that should fix it. So if we refresh, there we go. All right, so that's pretty much that. Now, you know, when it gets to 0, it should stop. I'm not going to wait until it gets to 0 for obvious reasons, but there you go. You can see it counting down. I have a more fully featured version of this. If you go to github.com/charlesmaxwood/countdown.js, and it actually has like pause and play and stop and reset and all that stuff. So anyway, go check that out, and thanks for watching. New Relic is the leading provider of application performance management tools for Ruby and Java applications. Thousands of companies use New Relic RPM to monitor, troubleshoot, and optimize applications deployed either in the cloud or in dedicated hosting environments. RPM Lite is free, fully supported, unlimited time version available at www.newrelic.com. All the leading Rails companies use New Relic, including 37 Signals, AT&T Interactive, Shopify, OurStage, IGN, and lots more. This episode is sponsored by Jumpstart Lab. Jumpstart Lab offers private and corporate training in Ruby, Rails, and related technologies. They're experienced educators, not just good developers, and will get you going quickly. Courses can be scheduled in the U.S. or around the world and curriculum customized to meet your needs. Learn more at jumpstartlab.com.
That was wonderful.
Bravo!
I loved that.
Oh, it was great.
Well, it was pretty good.
Well, it wasn't bad.
Well, there were parts of it that weren't very good, though.
It could have been a lot better.
I didn't really like it.
It was pretty terrible.
It was bad.
It was awful.
It was terrible.
Get him away!
Hey, boo!
Boo!